In this video, we'd like to take you through the different dimensions and sub-dimensions of the EAT framework. So the EAT framework stands for Equity, Agency and Transparency in Assessment, and the framework as a whole focuses on three core areas: assessment literacy, assessment feedback and assessment design. Those can be conceptualized as being integrated together within a web of different sub-dimensions. So each of those key dimensions has 4 sub-dimensions within it. The reason we identify this as part of a network or a web is to show that there's interaction and interconnectivity between those. So if you change one sub-dimension, it will have a knock-on impact on several others. So I'll take you through the 3 different key areas of assessment literacy, assessment feedback and assessment design. Assessment literacy is understanding the parameters of assessment, what assessment is, what assessment can do for you as a learner, what the requirements are of you as part of that assessment, and how the assessment fits into the overall scheme of your learning. The first of the sub-dimensions, AL1, is clarifying what constitutes good, what constitutes a high quality output from that particular assignment. So is it clear to the students what they need to do in order to do well in that particular assignment? Are there marking criteria? Are those marking criteria clear and explicit? Do the students understand those marking criteria? Do they have the same understanding of those criteria that the staff do? Do they have the same understanding as the other students? Do the staff have the same understanding of the criteria as each other? And are those criteria geared towards providing guidance towards a good outcome, a high quality outcome from that particular assessment? The second subdimension is clarifying how assessment elements fit together either within a module or within a year or within a degree program or across a particular discipline. So we need to make sure that we explain the purpose of the assessment and how it fits into other parts of the module or course or other parts of the overall development that that student will be doing. Subdimension AL3 is clarifying student entitlement. So what resource and opportunities and support are offered to the student to help them in that assessment process? What can they expect from that? Can they, for example, submit a draft for you to comment on as part of their learning activity within the assessment? What sort of support will you be providing to them? What will the feedback be? When will they gain feedback? And what type of activities will be as part of the feedback process? So what sort of support can the students expect to receive or hope to receive as part of that ongoing process? And finally, what are the requirements of the discipline? Are those clarified to the students? Is it clear to the student how this particular assessment fits in with the overall development of them as a member of a particular discipline? What does a deep approach to understanding and engaging with the concepts of a discipline look like, and to what extent are we embedding those in the assessment and helping the student understand what they are? The assessment feedback dimensions are focused around providing guidance and support and developmental advice to the students in order to support their ongoing learning. This first subdimension, AF1, is providing accessible feedback. So is the feedback we provide to students tailored to help them with their learning and help them develop in their learning going forwards? And is it something that they can understand, that they can engage with, that they can realise what it is we're trying to get them to do? Is it meaningful? Are the comments actually explicit or are they cryptic? And are the comments motivational? Are they supporting the student in encouraging them to do better? The second subdimension is providing early opportunities for students to act on the feedback. There's a strong argument that feedback provided on work that's been submitted is of limited value unless it very specifically feeds forward to other activities the students will be doing that are similar to that activity they've just done a submission for. So is it possible to provide earlier opportunities for feedback that help the students while they're still doing the assessment or still doing the assignment, that helps them identify areas they might need to change and put elements of change in place to change their behaviours or their approaches or their understandings so that they get a better outcome from the assessment in the end? The third subdimension is preparing students for meaningful dialogue and peer engagement. So are there opportunities for the students to work together collaboratively? Are there opportunities for the students to evaluate each other within a group setting? And are there opportunities for the students to either teach or provide feedback to each other, and as a result of that develop their own understandings of the marking criteria? That links very strongly to the fourth subdimension, which is promoting development of students' self-evaluation skills, for example, self-monitoring, self-assessment and critical reflection. So is the feedback we provide to the students helping them develop the skills to identify the strengths and weaknesses of their work on their own? When they graduate, they're no longer going to have a member of staff or a support tutor looking over their shoulder to tell them whether work they're doing is adequate or not. And so we need to develop those skills within them. That skills development is absolutely fundamental, and the feedback that we provide to students needs to be guiding them to be able to provide that feedback to themselves. That links very strongly with AF3, because peer feedback and peer evaluation are really, really powerful methods for supporting the development of self-reflective activities and self-evaluative activity. The final dimension is assessment design, and that's looking at how the assessment is structured, what the aims of the assessments are, how are they designed in order to support students within that assessment, and the quality control processes involved. The first subdimension is ensuring robust and transparent processes and procedures. Is it clear to a student what the control measures and quality measures around an assessment actually are? What happens to that assessment once they submit it or put it in the box or press send to the virtual learning environment? Who's going to be marking it? Is there more than one person marking it? How is quality control going to be assured between those individual markers? When will they receive their feedback? In what form will the feedback come? What are they expected to do as part of the feedback process? So identifying clear activities that both the assessors and the learners need to do within that is very, very important. The second subdimension is promoting meaningful and focused assessment. So is the assessment we're providing for the students actually going to be of use to them once they graduate from university, or is it something that's very artificial and something we've created in order to assess them in that particular skill or that particular competence, but they will never do that approach ever again in their working life? So are we creating assessments that are supporting the students as lifelong learners rather than just providing a medium through which we can assign a grade or assign a mark? The third subdimension of assessment design is ensuring equitable access and equal opportunities for students within the assessment process. So are we sure that what we're testing within the assessment is purely the intellectual skills the student requires for that particular assessment? Or are we evaluating other things that are impacting that student's ability to work? Things like that could include disabilities or neurodiversities, or the social background of the students, their personal backgrounds, their ability with the local language, their ability to settle in as part of transitioning to university. All of those things can impact on a student's performance, and are we accommodating those so that all we're measuring within the assessment itself is the ability of the student to perform that particular academic or professional task? Very final one is ensuring ongoing evaluation to support the development of a sustainable model for assessment and feedback practices. So are there opportunities to identify whether or not the assessment is fit for purpose? Are we gaining feedback from the students, the people being assessed, as well as from peers and external examiners and auditors? And are we providing opportunities to work with students to make those assessments better, to ensure that they're still fit for purpose and that they're still achieving the aims that we wanted them to achieve and aren't straying into some other territory? So those 3 dimensions and the 12 sub-dimensions embedded within them really constitute key elements of effective assessments and effective assessment and feedback approaches. As I mentioned earlier, we tend to conceptualize them as being elements on a web or a network, so that if you change one, it will impact on another. But we'll focus more on that in other opportunities and activities within this particular module.